Hey there, I'm your host, Sarah Potter. Let's just cut to the chase here. Living a happy life is challenging for those with mental illness, but not impossible. On this podcast, we'll be serving you a slew of mental health advice from professionals in the space, ways to heal and nourish your heart and soul, and kick down the door on mental health stigmas. Ready to get started? Strap in for today's episode.
Here's the thing about healing from trauma. It's complicated. Not just because of the way the mind works and all of the potential mental illnesses that could potentially be developed by trauma, but because there are so many different ways someone could heal from their trauma. How we heal from our trauma is an individual experience. What might work for me might not work for you. Often in my TikTok videos and on YouTube, I say how wonderful EMDR therapy is, but it is also not for everyone. There are numerous methods that go into healing trauma. Everything that ranges from traditional cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR, ketamine treatments, yoga, and other physical forms of exercise-based therapy, and so much more than just those things I listed. In today's episode, we're going to focus on TRE and trauma-informed yoga. So, what is TRE? According to my research, TRE is a tension-releasing exercise. Essentially, TRE is an innovative series of exercises that assist the body in releasing deep, muscular patterns of stress, tension, and trauma. According to Ineffable Living, there are 7 different TRE exercises to help support recovery. The first exercise is stretching the ankles, the second, stretching the calf muscles, third, stretching the upper legs, fourth, stretching your inner hips and back. Exercise 5 is stretching the front of the body. Exercise 6 consists of wall sits and stretching your inner thighs and glutes. And exercise 7 is a 4-part sequence. I'll give you the details in a later episode of what those exercises look like. Right now, I want to bring in an expert who's going to talk about trauma-informed yoga. Meet Carolyn.
So my name is Caroline Pegram. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm a trauma-sensitive yoga facilitator.
Carolyn works with complex traumas, otherwise known as CPTSD. These are traumas that happen throughout the lifetime of a child and into adulthood. How does past trauma from your abuser manifest in your body? Like, what are the physical symptoms of trauma?
So oftentimes that looks like relational wounding throughout the lifespan since childhood into adulthood. I approach trauma healing, trauma therapy from a somatic approach, which means I really focus and incorporate our bodies and what the body has to say about, our lived experience and where we're at. It's going to look different for everyone. It's really hard to say, like, if you've experienced A, then you'll have B, C, it's just not that linear. But a lot of what I see just kind of anecdotally show up in my office, right, is kind of a chronic holding pattern, right? And you can almost see it in people, the way we hold ourselves and our spine. There can be this sort of hunched over, protecting the heart space, protecting the stomach space that has all of our internal organs. In our culture too, we're kind of encouraged to hunch over in the things that we do, but I think that there's a lot of muscle and fascia tissue kind of patterns that we see. And then other things like gastrointestinal issues, chronic pain, chronic migraines. We see a lot of this manifest in the body in a lot of different ways because the body is so complex, and our nervous system, which is impacted by trauma, has such a wide effect on how our body functions and how our bodies show up, that really trauma can look different depending on just the human that you're standing in front of. When it comes to any kind of trauma work, like my philosophy that I've gotten to at this point in my career, in my professional life, in my personal life, because I'm also, a survivor of complex trauma. I'm also someone, like all of these things I'm talking about, that we're talking about, I myself experience on a personal level too. And what I have found is that, like, titration, so slow, steady, bite-sized approaches to doing trauma work is key. And I say that because a lot of times when we start talking about somatics or trauma healing, there's this, for a lot of folks, want to dive in and go head first. And to be fair, like, our nervous systems are so incredibly wise and like have fine-tuned itself through evolution so well that to try to like do exercises or do these therapies and just go head first, is our nervous systems are going to be like, wait, that's not safe. We need to orient. We need to go slow. Yeah. Right. So I say that first and foremost, that anything we're talking about is, I think, helpful to be done in a slow pace with the support of other safe people, because healing trauma, oftentimes the trauma occurs in a relationship, and therefore the healing really, really, really needs to take place in safe relationships. And so some of the more somatic, and by somatic I mean body-based movement, that I use in my practice, both personally and professionally, are two things. One is called trauma-sensitive yoga, and that is a particular school of practice through the Center for Trauma and Embodiment out of Brookline, Massachusetts, with David Emerson. And this practice it's yoga, yes, but essentially what it is it's a practice of making choices with our own bodies, right? And so the focus is not like, what does the form look like? What does the movement look like? It's about, I'm being invited in this moment to move my body with other humans. And do I want to move my body in this way? And if I do move it in this way, how does it feel for me? And just cultivating a curiosity. Because one of the things that we know can happen when we are triggered in our trauma and we're kind of back into a different time and place is our ability to interocept, which means to feel inside of our bodies, kind of goes offline. Yeah. So trauma-sensitive yoga is all about how can we be online with our own felt sense, because our felt sense is such a key piece in us feeling safe in the world. And trauma oftentimes kind of steals that from us. We have to abandon ourselves in order to survive. So trauma-sensitive yoga is a huge component that I like to bring in. And it's all about building choices and decreasing hierarchies and power. So if I'm doing it with someone, I'm never telling someone what to do. Yeah. All invitation, and they get to choose what they feel like doing.
Incorporating trauma-informed or trauma-sensitive yoga is such a fantastic addition to any type of talk-based or cognitive-based therapy that you might be doing, especially so for those with complex trauma. Here's the thing about trauma-sensitive yoga, as Carolyn mentioned. It's not designed to take you back to the source of your pain. Its purpose serves to help you become more aware of what's going on in your body. As Carolyn put it, we're taking your body from being offline to helping it become online. Once you can tap into yourself in an online format, you can work on releasing all of the built-up emotions, stress, and tension that you incurred during your time with trauma. A key element about trauma-informed yoga to keep in mind is that it differs greatly from traditional yoga practices. With trauma-sensitive yoga sessions, teachers are aware that people in the class may be living with trauma, so they'll offer options that make students feel less vulnerable. Or if you're someone who works with a person like Carolyn, you may be in a private, comfortable setting where you have the ability to make more active choices to choose and make choices with your body. Trauma-sensitive yoga is an incredible option not just for those who've suffered from trauma, but those who have specifically suffered from sexual abuse or sexual-based traumas. Because it's not about forcing you to do any one thing or pushing you through an EMDR session or psychotherapy. It's about learning to make choices for yourself again that pertain to your body. It's important that your trauma-informed yoga teacher always works to respect your personal space and what works in an trauma-informed yoga session. breathwork also plays a huge role. So while you may not be working on yoga poses to help release some of the tension and stress incurred from trauma, working on breathing may also allow you to calm yourself down during times of high stress or high anxiety. If your trauma makes you feel more depressed, you can try to bring that energy up and focus on the inhale of your breath. We've talked a lot about how great trauma-sensitive yoga is, what it is specifically and how it works. What about some of the benefits of trauma-sensitive yoga or trauma-informed yoga? In a randomized controlled trial from J. Flynn Psychiatry, the study showed that trauma-informed yoga significantly reduced the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, and the effects of it were comparable to research in psychological and medicinal methods. The method in which this information was uncovered was done by surveying 64 women with chronic treatment-resistant PTSD. The women were randomly assigned to either trauma-informed yoga or supportive women's health education. Each woman did their randomly assigned work as a weekly 1-hour class for 10 weeks. Assessments were conducted at pre-treatment, mid-treatment, and post-treatment, and included measures of the DSM-5 PTSD, affect regulation, and depression. The study ran from 2008 through 2011. The primary outcome measure was the clinical administered PTSD scale. At the end of the study, 16 of 31 participants, which is approximately 52% of the group, no longer met criteria for PTSD, compared to 6 of 29 women in the control group. Both groups exhibited significant decreases, with the decrease falling in the large effect size of the range for the yoga group, and the medium to large effect size decrease for the control group. The control group in this study focus was primarily on supportive women's health education. And while this group specifically experienced a significant decrease in PTSD symptoms during the first half of treatment, this group of women did not experience a consistent and constant decrease of symptoms, similar to the trauma-informed yoga group. To sum it all up, trauma-informed yoga out of this group of women allowed 51% of the entire group that was studied over the course of 3 years to see a complete elimination of PTSD symptoms. After listening to this portion of the podcast episode about trauma-informed yoga, maybe you're still experiencing some hesitation. Maybe you're thinking, I want to try something else before I dive into trauma-informed yoga, but what else is there?
The other somatic-based therapy I use is from, I believe his name is David Berceli, and it's called trauma release exercise. Mm-hmm. He is originally a massage therapist who started working with folks internationally, vets and people who have lived in war zones. And one of the things that his theory discusses is that as humans, we have what's called a polyvagal nerve in our body. And this polyvagal nerve is responsible for keeping us safe. It receives information from the outside of our bodies and delivers that and lets us know what we need to be doing on the inside of our bodies to respond to our environment. And what he says is that this vagus nerve has, all mammals have it. We have an ability through this nerve, through our nervous system, to actually induce a tremor response when we are under serious threat. Yeah. And so we can see this in the wild with other mammals. Say there's a deer, trying to get away from a mountain lion. The deer just barely escapes. It runs. And then when it gets to safety, it has all of this adrenaline built up, all of these hormones released to get it to safety. And whatever is left over needs to be discharged out of the body, because if we're carrying around all this stress hormone and we don't need to be running from the lion anymore, then we're stressing our bodies out. So we'll see this mammal just drop to the ground and almost look like it's having a seizure, but it's not. It's having a natural tremor response. See this, if we've had a fender bender, if we've been, just nearly in an unsafe situation, we get out, we might notice we're shaking or we're tremoring.
Yes.
But unfortunately, as humans, we've been conditioned out of this natural response, right? When that happens, so often, what do we say? We go, oh, no, you're okay. Don't shake. You're fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll hold someone, try to hold them still. That actually is really counterintuitive to what our nervous systems already know how to do. So this therapy, this approach, anyone can do, and he designs it and has put it out into the public so that people can do it, without necessarily having to have a therapist.